Welcome to this Maven Academy Explainer. Today, we're bringing you a highly requested, data-driven market report focusing on the ground realities of the Canadian automotive landscape right now. Look, whether you're a consumer trying to time your very next purchase, a dealer trying to manage incredibly tight inventory, or an independent flipper hunting for the right margins, having a clear, objective view of the data is absolutely crucial. You literally can't afford to fly blind.
So, let's start with the million-dollar question. Or, well, I guess the $60,000 question nowadays. Should you buy, sell, or wait in the Canadian car market before the end of 2026? It's the central dilemma facing every single participant in the auto ecosystem today. With shifting trade policies, fluctuating supply chains, and a really turbulent economic backdrop, relying on old assumptions is just going to cost you money. We need to look at what the numbers are actually telling us.
Before we get into the heavy lifting, I just need to read our standard disclaimer. This explainer is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial, legal, investment, or vehicle buying or selling advice. Always make sure to consult with your own professionals before making any significant financial commitments.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First up, the buy, sell, wait dilemma. Second, the rate and affordability wall. Third, the inventory shock and CUSMA tariffs. Fourth, the hidden costs of GTA insurance. And finally, number 5, we'll give you the 2026 market verdict.
Starting right off with Section 1, the buy, sell, wait dilemma, and the macro shift we're seeing. The Canadian auto market has fundamentally transformed, and our baseline has officially moved. The average new vehicle in Canada now costs over $63,000. Just let that massive number sink in for a second. This price point is actively excluding a huge and growing segment of the population, especially here in Ontario. And you know, it's sending a massive shockwave down the entire automotive food chain. And we can see that behavioral shift so clearly when we contrast the markets. In March of 2026, new car sales actually dropped by 8.2% year over year, and total sales are forecast to decline 4.3% for the entire year. Why? Because buyers are being priced out. And because budgets are tight, certain vehicles are really losing demand. Think heavy, older, high-mileage V8 trucks like the Ram 1500 Classic or the Jeep Grand Cherokee, plus any expensive, out-of-warranty luxury vehicles. People just don't want that kind of risk right now, so they're abandoning the new lot and shifting their focus squarely to the used market.
Which brings us to Section 2, the rate and affordability wall. Let's look at the actual financing realities. We really can't talk about vehicle prices without talking about how Canadians actually pay for them. Right now, the national average used car price is sitting at roughly $34,100. That's up 3.3% year over year. So instead of plummeting like some predicted, prices are basically plateauing because of a fierce tug of war. Buyers are flocking toward reliable, hyper-efficient models. Cars like the Civic, the Corolla, the RAV4 Hybrid, and the CR-V Hybrid are in massive demand, propping up average prices. Meanwhile, used EVs like the Tesla Model 3, the Model Y, and the Ioniq 5 and 6 are seeing pretty steep demand drop-offs.
But hey, the sticker price is only half the battle, right? Let's look at the financing side. The Bank of Canada held its policy rate at 2.25%. Now, a stable central rate sounds great on the news, but look at what actually happens at the deal table in Ontario. If you have prime or good credit, you're looking at used car loan rates between roughly 7 and 10%. But if you fall into the near-prime or challenged credit category, wow, those rates skyrocket from nearly 13% all the way up to 30% or more. This creates immense friction on the showroom floor. Borderline buyers are just struggling with this incredibly heavy cost of borrowing.
When you layer those high borrowing costs over a $34,000 average used price, you get this alarming statistic. The average monthly auto loan payment in Canada is now approaching $1,000. For households that are already juggling huge mortgage renewals, crazy grocery costs, and general inflation, a $1,000 car payment is a massive and honestly often insurmountable barrier.
Let's move to Section 3, inventory shock and CUSMA tariffs. Essentially, the supply squeeze. So, you might be wondering, if buyers are struggling, why doesn't the market just flood with cheaper cars to meet them? Well, it all comes down to the timeline. It started with pandemic production shortfalls between 2020 and 2023. Fast forward to 2025, and US-Canada tariff friction added roughly $830 to the cost of the average used vehicle. And right now, we're living in what's being called the zombie CUSMA scenario, With the U.S. International Trade Commission launching an investigation into auto rules of origin and no report due until July of 2027, this ongoing geopolitical friction means pre-pandemic inventory levels are practically a mirage for the foreseeable future.
And automakers aren't just sitting around waiting for reports, they're making real cuts right now. Let's localize this to Ontario for a second. GM's Oshawa plant actually reduced a production shift early in 2026. The Stellantis Brampton assembly plant remains idled. Overall, total Canadian vehicle output is forecast to decline by about 4% this year. Now here is the direct unavoidable consequence for the used market. Fewer new cars rolling off the line today absolutely guarantees a smaller pool of quality off-lease and trade-in vehicles on dealer lots 3 to 4 years from now.
And consumer behavior has drastically shifted in response to all this. Surveys reveal that 47% of Canadian buyers altered their vehicle purchase plans directly due to tariff fears. Of those who changed their plans, a massive 30% abandoned the new car market entirely. They took their capital and shifted it directly into competing for used cars. It really is a perfect storm of constrained supply meeting newly displaced demand.
On to Section 4, the hidden costs. We have to talk about GTA insurance.
Beyond the purchase price and interest rates, the local cost to just keep a car on the road is absolutely staggering right now. If you live in a mid-sized city like Kingston or Ottawa, a driver with a clean record might pay an average of $1,700 to $2,200 a year. But draw a circle around the Greater Toronto Area, specifically Brampton, Toronto, and Mississauga, and those premium peaks are massive. When you combine these localized rates with skyrocketing modern vehicle repair costs, it takes a huge bite right out of a buyer's monthly transportation budget. It effectively lowers the amount of car they can afford to finance.
Oakville insurance broker James Inwood hit the nail on the head here. He points out, 2 drivers living minutes apart can have different premiums. Insurance companies evaluate risk at the neighborhood and postal code level. This is such a crucial takeaway for dealers and buyers alike. Quoting a monthly loan payment without factoring in the exact postal code's insurance risk is just a recipe for a lost deal, or worse, a complete financial nightmare down the road.
Finally, Section 5, the 2026 market verdict. Let's talk strategy over speculation.
So, what does this all mean? Here's the reality of the market right now. If you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for a massive, dramatic crash in used car prices, the data suggests you're going to be waiting a really long time. Prices are forecast to remain relatively flat through 2026 and well into 2027. Because of production cuts and tariff friction, pre-pandemic inventory just isn't returning anytime soon. Because of this, success relies entirely on targeting the right inventory. Beyond the compacts we mentioned earlier, safe bets with strong demand include the Tucson Hybrid, Santa Fe Hybrid, Subaru Outback, Forester, and targeted utility vehicles like the gas-powered F-150. For dealers, moving these specific units means you have to secure diverse financing sources for heavily burdened buyers, rather than relying on just one traditional bank.
I want to leave you with this final framework to guide your decisions moving forward. Follow the data, not emotions. In 2026, the best opportunities are not always the cheapest cars. The best opportunities are low-risk cars with clean title, strong demand, low operating cost, clear safety status, and realistic pricing. The data is crystal clear. But the question isn't just whether you'll buy or wait, it's whether you'll adapt your strategy to the new math of the 2026 market or be left paying the price. So, what's your next move?